Welcome to the Southern U Podcast, brought to you by Darden Archery on the OKest Podcast Network, with your co-host, Matt Brock, Jeremy Ferguson, and Taylor McMurtry. If you're looking for all things land-related in the Southeast, you came to the right place. Whether it's real estate, habitat, wildlife, or just being outdoors, this is the place for you. Welcome to the Southern U. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Southern U Podcast. My name's Taylor McMurtry, and I'm joined by the real estate wildlife aficionado himself, Mr. Jeremy Ferguson.
Yeah, what's up, guys?
And the other two goons that are normally grace us with their presence are not here because they're off gallivanting, doing something in the woods.
Yeah. I think they're burning today, I know they were yesterday.
They were yesterday.
I'm not real sure.
Yeah, and so, anyways, if you're new to the show, we just talk all things land. It doesn't matter if it's timber or ag or hunting, real estate, you name it. If it has to do with land, we talk about it on here.
Try to anyway.
Yeah,
we've been wildlife heavy, but
yeah, we have. Which that's kind of what the people want. I think.
Yeah,
it's what people are asking for. So we've been talking wildlife a lot lately.
Yeah, absolutely.
But today we're doing something maybe a little different. It's not that we always have to be super rigid and super structured in like everything that we do on the show, but we do like to have an outline or a guide or something just to kind of make sure we don't completely derail and chase rabbits the whole time. So,
and Taylor's the only one that gets that. The rest of us don't.
That's right. It is off the cuff for the people that are answering the questions, not the one asking. So, but today we are pretty much going off the cuff.
Yep.
It is just the time of year, the season of life that all of us are in. We are being pulled in every direction imaginable. The other three of them have real estate stuff going on and wildlife stuff going on. I've got more work than I can handle right now in terms of just editing video and shooting projects and all kinds of stuff. So we are doing our very best to kind of keep the streak alive. We have not missed an episode since we started this thing. Every Thursday since October 14th of 2023, we have dropped an episode. For whatever reason, sometimes the video doesn't always make it because technology is the bane of my existence, I think. But we've always dropped an episode, so we want to keep the streak alive here as long as we possibly can. So
absolutely.
You are stuck with just me and Jeremy today. You don't have what are we going to call him, Brock?
The legend.
I didn't say it. It wasn't me.
I said it.
It wasn't me.
The legend himself.
Yeah, we got Brock here, and Bray, I think, is assisting him in some burns and all that kind of stuff. So.
I think they may be. I think they may be local today. I don't know. Matt may not be. He may be doing.
He's in Mississippi. I
think he may be doing a consult today. I can't remember, but Bray. Everybody knows Bray's got her real estate license and is an agent with us, and man came out swinging.
I was about to say, she seems like she is cranking them out.
She is. She's got a couple under contract, so she's dealing with some of that today, some inspections with a home, and got a really, really nice piece of property, I think 135 acres with a home that she's got under contract. So, yeah, she came out swinging.
Yeah, she said, hey, I'm going to need a video for this when you get back from vacation. Psych, just kidding. We got it under contract in 4 days or something like that. So,
as a real estate agent, there is nothing better than when you've got a listing agreement signed and you've had it signed for 24 to 48 hours and you're working on all the package to get it published. Because it takes for a piece of property, it's not like just listing a house on MLS. It takes a little bit of time. But for somebody to knock on the door or knock on your door or give you a call within 48 hours and be like, hey, we want to make you an offer before you ever, have to get it published online, do all the video, work that you do for us and photos, and man, just there's a lot that goes into selling a tract of land.
That's the not so sexy part of real estate that people don't know about. People think, oh man, I can sell a house and I'll get a commission off of that. Heck yeah. And it's like, man, I don't think the average person understands what goes into that to make those things happen.
Absolutely. And both sides are a lot of work. Look, I sell a house or two here and there, primarily on land. I don't sell houses and subdivisions, things like that. There's a lot to go wrong. But listing property is very different than it is just a home. And there's a lot that goes in. Not that there's not with housing, residential, market. And I'm not saying res agents don't have a lot of work to do, but it's not quite as extensive in the field as what we have to do as land agents. There's quite a bit, around that. So yeah, she's excited, doing great, and man, we got some other big ones coming. A couple other agents up here have got a tremendous property that's going to be on the market before too long. So we'll announce that once it's ready.
Oh yeah, that was a ton of fun to shoot it, and
it is a spectacular piece of property.
It is. I mean, I know that like the sales pitch for every realtor is, oh man, this place has it all. This place has got everything you might. But in all honesty, not that I've been doing this for a really, really long time, but in the time that I have made this a career, it's far and away the most pristine piece of property that I have ever got to shoot. I mean, it's incredible. So whenever we get that completely finished up and put that out for the world to see, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's awesome.
it will garner a lot of interest, a lot of eyeballs, but it's a premier property. I've had the luxury of being involved with some of the design and management since I think 2017. So
that's awesome.
It's been a long project. A lot of folks much more heavily involved than I was. That was when I was with the state, and kind of the landowner, brought it to our attention, some of the things that he wanted to do, and was asking for some help, and we started putting a plan together. And a couple of years into that development plan, I left the department and left it in much better hands than mine with a couple of guys that were working on that. And they worked with Tall Timbers research station there out of Florida, South Georgia, and a lot of quail management going on that tract. But it's also a phenomenal deer turkey tract too.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I'm no biologist, but if you have quail, odds are you've probably got some deer and turkey too.
Yep, odds are.
You got habitat that works for them, it'll probably work for the rest of it. And before we jump in, because I think it's kind of what we're going to do today, is just kind of roll through all of those different categories. We'll talk real estate, what's going on right now and this time of year, and then we'll maybe bump on down to timber, and we'll talk wildlife and burning and those sort of things too, and kind of see what all stuff that we've got going on right now, and stuff that might be helpful for some of you guys that are listening, because whether you're getting ready to try to manage a new piece of property, or one that you've had for a long time, or maybe you're looking to buy a piece of property or sell one, how to get top dollar for that. Just we're going to talk through a lot of those different things that are going on for you guys right now. And before we jump in, we always do shout outs before it gets too far away. So I was going to flip it over to you if you got anybody you want to.
Yeah, I got a couple. Yeah. One, give my nephew a shout out, Colby Edson. He
snake wrangler.
Yeah, old snake wrangler. I always kid people when we're walking through the woods, and everybody's like, man, I bet you see a bunch of snakes, yada, yada, this type deal, or you see all this. And me, even though my background is wildlife, when I got out of school, first job I took was with a forestry consultant, and I was, thrown into the fire of forestry and knew nothing about it. So, several years, I eventually learned forestry through School of Hard Knocks. But when I walk around the woods, I'm looking up. I'm hardly ever looking down.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm looking level to up. And a lot of people, they're watching where their feet are, watching what they're doing. And we've got talking about, timber. So
Sure.
Got a timber sale that's going on in Northeast Alabama, and I just needed a little help here and there. So I conned Colby into going and marking timber with me. Can't get Matt and Bray out to do it. Apparently it's too hot and they don't want to mark timber. Just ragging on them a little bit. But so I carry him, and we've both got paint guns, and we're walking through the woods, and he doesn't know anything about forestry. He's just a body to help me, and nothing against him. He don't know. He's still in high school, okay.
Right.
But I'm teaching him what we're looking for and what to do and all that, and I'm pointing at trees, based off of species that we want to keep in this residual stand. And he's going out through there, and he's actually headed to a big white oak that I want him to put paint on so it don't get cut. And I'm seeing him go through there, and he's only about 10, 15 feet from me. And about the time he sees it and steps and flips out, I looked at his feet and immediately, saw, but legitimately he stepped about that far off the nose of a sizable timber rattler. I mean, a 4+ foot snake. And I've got good video of it. And, he could have dunked a basketball goal easily. That's how high he came off the ground.
Sure.
And, he wanted to kill it. And so at that point, I'm talking him through, hey, snakes are here for a reason. They play an important role in our ecosystem. Why do you want to kill it? And I said, you stepped perfectly where the snake could bite you. It didn't rattle. It didn't coil. It didn't offer to strike, nothing. So why are you going to act aggressively toward that snake that had no aggression towards you? And so just talking him through that. And so I got him calmed down, and we go back to marking timber. And look, this, as we're marking, that snake is right there with us, because it's got in its mind where it wants to go, and we're kind of going the same direction. So after a few minutes, the snake finally gets out of our immediate area and goes off down a little ridge, and we start back, heavily marking, getting back to business. And 3 minutes, I see this snake, before I can get it out of my mouth, he finally almost stepped on it, but he stepped and then he jumped again. And, he's a young fella, but he knows what language is too. And he goes, "Damn, Uncle Jeremy, I quit. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to truck." And, but that one was a monster timber rattler that he was right up on. And, so long story short, I got to give him a shout out for marking timber with me and surviving the snaky woods of Northeast Alabama.
Nice.
So,
glad you made it, Colby.
Yeah. Good job, buddy. And, keep your eyes to the ground, I guess.
Yep, that's right. Well, yeah, I tell you what, I got two. One is a sponsor, and I want to definitely give a shout out. I know that everybody that probably listens to us, for the most part, hunts, and to some degree. Now, I realize you may not all be saddle hunters, and that's totally fine, whatever. But Tethered just launched a couple new products. They help us out here on the podcast, of course, but and I'm fortunate enough to do some apparel for them as well. But they just released two things. One is their new saddle. It's a 2-panel saddle called the Carnivore, and I haven't had a chance to get my hands on it, but I imagine if it's like anything else that they've made, it's probably pretty awesome. So they've got that. They announced it at ATA, and now they've actually got them for sale. And I don't know, they may have already sold out. I know it's been pretty high demand for it. But they also released their One Stick Mini. So if you're familiar with their One Sticks, I've got some.
So wait a minute. One Stick Mini?
Yeah, basically imagine
what's it weigh? 2 ounces?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I really don't have all the details on it. From what I understand, it's somewhere around half the size and length of the original stick. It's just they just cut the tubing down and made a shorter version of the stick. So if you want something that's maybe a little bit lighter, a little bit shorter, or something like that, then the one stick
a little bit lighter.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, whatever you want to do, but
let's just pump helium in the next one.
I can't imagine anything being better than the original one stick. And by the way, that's if you hunt out of a tree stand too.
Oh, really?
You can take those and hunt out of whatever lock-on, that you prefer to hunt out of. But I'm just telling you, that stick is incredible. There's nothing in my mind that I've ever put my hands on, taken to the woods, or tried that really even comes close. It's just like, yes, it's lightweight, which is cool. I would still use them if they were heavier, just because there are no buckles, like there's no stuff to clang and bang. It's super simple, super fast setup and tear down. When you want to get up the tree.
They use the steel cable
that's
too,
right?
right? Yep. Okay, I thought so.
Yep. It's, of course, I don't know if I'm supposed to really say this, but I change out mine. I put a smaller steel cable on mine as soon as I got them.
Yeah.
And just to make it even faster setup, even it gets down in the grooves a little bit easier. So anyways, but check them out if you're interested in them. I think they're available now. I think I saw them post something about the one stick mini a couple days ago. So check them out if they're still in stock. I have no idea. But and then the other local shout out, you guys probably, some of you listening locally to where we are might know who they are. If you don't, it's all right. Wilson's Barbecue, Albertville, Alabama. We just had a monster barbecue baked potato from Wilson's, and I'm just telling you, it's that is something to behold right there. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it was great. I'm gonna have to be a little honest. I didn't know Wilson's was still open. I mean, grew up here.
Yep.
Back for a few years now. I didn't have a clue they were still there.
Yeah. Well,
but it was just as good as I remember.
It was our go-to whenever I was at the church. We would do once a month, we'd have like a kind of like an introductory type thing to our church. And, we called it Life Point 101. And for new people, coming to the church and wanting to get more info about how to get plugged in and serve and those sort of things. So we would always run over to Wilson's, grab a bunch of barbecue, some bread or buns, and bring it back and feed everybody once a month. So I frequent Wilson's a lot. Barbecue guy.
Yeah.
So check them out if you're local. Having said that, I guess we can actually get into some more.
Get into the meat and potatoes.
Hey. See what you did there. But yeah, I guess, in that same spirit you were talking about with you and Colby, Mark, and Timber. So, I mean, what do not just you have going on in the timber world right now, but just kind of across the board this season? We're in the summertime and school getting ready to start back. Like this time of year, what does it look like in the timber world right now?
Golly, it depends on your location, how the timber market is, and what you're able to move. I have actually seen pretty good prices on some hardwood products. We're cutting a track up in northeast Alabama that we're doing. It's in the mountains, but it's on the top, so it's even though it is a mountain track, it's flat. So we're actually creating more of a oak shortleaf savanna on it. It's not a real big track. We're going to be cutting maybe 80 acres or so, but we're thinning it out real heavy and just leaving, predominantly oaks and shortleaf, and occasionally there'll be a hickory left here or there, not too much, but primarily, just trying to improve the habitat. One, keep it from being a closed canopy hardwood forest, just as far as I can see. Because that's how most people are managing that ground up there, and it's not very productive that way.
Well, I don't want to jump topics, but I mean, I believe it was 10 days, 2 weeks ago, something like that, where Bray and Matt were out on a property that had been burned.
Yep.
And he was actually just talking about in some content he filmed was like, yes, fire has rolled through here. You can see the response, and it has grown. But this has also not been thinned, so there's not a whole lot of excess sunlight coming down.
Right.
So you're it's better than not doing it, but you're still not getting the full benefit.
That's right.
Because like his point was this place still needs to be thinned. Like
Right.
if we're going to make this all it can possibly be, we got to cut some trees out.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, it costs money to burn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got to put in fire lanes at least initially, and then you've got to clean them out and keep them in good shape. And then it's going to cost you anywhere from, depending on where you are, what state you're in. I mean, I've been getting prices as low as $10 an acre for burning, all the way up to $40 and $50 an acre for burning.
It's a big
difference. It's a big gap. But if you're going to go to the extent of burning and having fire lanes and all that, it stands to reason that you would do some thinning so that you take or that you get as much impact vegetatively as you can on that property. If you don't, then your results are going to be limited.
Right. Well, so, I mean, let's talk about that for a second, 'cause I've kind of got a question. One, if someone has property that they know that needs to be thinned, but perhaps that's not been managed properly, and like those whatever species of trees are out there may not be desirable in terms of like a timber market. Can you still go about offsetting the cost of that in some way, shape, or form? Or is it just like, sorry, man, these trees are just junk and you're just going to have to eat them? Or is there a way for you to maybe cut those and sell them to someone, somewhere?
Yeah. As usual, it depends. Look, if it's large enough diameter and long enough that it can be stuck on a pulpwood truck, then you can get something for it. The problem now is not where you can't make a product out of the standing wood. That can be an issue from time to time, but primarily it's the logging force. The loggers can now, there's so few of them, they can pick the best of the best jobs. And the mills are really the same way. They prefer working with certain loggers, depending on which mill, because of the logger's capacity to move wood or what kind of job they do merchandising. So for the landowner, things have really started getting more and more difficult in the last several years. And honestly, we had the conversation here in the woods the other day with timber buyers and loggers that it appears, at least in our local area, that logging is becoming more of a boutique type deal and a service provider instead of working with big commercial contracts and groups like timber companies. Our local loggers are living on 40 to 100, 200 acre tracts instead of these large industrial timberlands like they used to.
Okay.
And the mills also, they're putting people on quotas, and that depends on weather and a whole lot of other factors, but also usage of the product, in the market. So and I don't feel educated enough to talk on most of it, especially how tariffs impact, logging industry and prices. But I do know even back in the first Trump presidency, some of the tariffs really impacted our forestry business. China was a consumer of a number of our materials that were produced here from the forestry industry, and that's not the case now.
Right.
So certain products have gone significantly down in price.
Gotcha.
We're still, in our part of the world, we're still living on cross-tie money, white oaks, for staves, barrels, whatnot, the whiskey business. I think one of the last sales that I saw one of our foresters put together, I think we got like $110 a ton for white oak, which is good, but it's not what it was.
Right.
But pine is taking it on the chin.
Yeah.
For us, right now, we're not near what we were. But I talked to folks that've been in the industry a lot longer than I have. And I mean, I know how to read a graph and charts and all that, but if you go back and look, I mean, through my whole career and probably the 10 or 15 years prior to when I started, Yeah, there's a lot of peaks and valleys in the timber market, but it's been pretty static.
Yeah.
So I've always told people just ride the wave, but I'm unsure of what that wave is going to do in the future.
Yeah. No, and I know you mentioned we were talking about fire too. On that, my other follow up to that was going to be how wide does a fire break or a fire lane need to be in order to be deemed safe? And is that something that you can do without? I mean, is it like you've got to have a dozer, or is that something that you can do with other methods?
It depends.
There you go.
Yeah. So for somebody like me, Matt, Bray, somebody that's a contract burner that's carrying insurance policies, for burning for the public, they don't stipulate what we have to have, but they're very interested, especially if there's ever a case that you've had a fire get out. So my company policy, this is not Bray, this is not, Southeastern Habitat, this is not Matt's with Habitat First. This is simply mine. If I don't have 10 foot of bare dirt, I'm not putting fire on the ground, period. Because I'm not going to be the one held responsible. So our customers know that. If they have a place that is not feasible to get a dozer and get 10 foot of bare dirt, then I will work with them, but I have to approve those locations.
Yeah.
We do a lot of fire lanes with leaf blowers and hand tools in the mountains, and it's just going to be on a case-by-case scenario then. But there's also some new products out there that we employ in the woods from time to time. There's I would have to get the name of the product, but we put it in our sprayers. But there are some additives to water now that you can spray and just put out, and what it does is my basic understanding of the chemistry is that it pulls all the moisture in whatever you put it on to the surface and helps, extinguish the fire.
Right.
And it's actually really, really neat. You can go, because we were one of the companies that helped test it in the initial stages. We just go out through a pine stand and take a handheld sprayer and spray a line. Just spray a line on the ground that's this wide, foot wide, or 12 inches wide, 10 inches wide, somewhere in that ballpark. And man, it would stop a fire cold.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Part of the testing we did, we lit shooting houses on fire and see how long it'd take from a full engulf to how long it would take us to put them out. And it was really neat at how fast that product worked. And my understanding, because, product's out, so I guess I can talk about it. My understanding was that this product was being researched and developed to be able to add to water that could be dropped on firefighters in a wildland fire setting.
Yeah.
Because, everybody knows the crap that they put in fire retardant now has been cancer causing for a long time.
Yeah.
And my understanding, this is all natural, comes from a particular plant. I'm not going to release that because I don't know if it's well known. But it has that capability of retarding fire and not, being dangerous to humans as well.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I was just curious because I know in my head when you said, well, in the mountains, you may not be able to get a dozer up there and whatever. And are you relying on once these breaks are established, and I guess is that something that they would pay you guys to do, or is that something that you would get someone else to bring in and do it?
Well, it's both. Okay. We have the capability to do it ourselves with equipment, and then also we subcontract. We do a lot of subcontracting work because, with us, it's not feasible for us to move equipment all over the state.
No, but I guess what I was getting at is like once these fire breaks are established, at that point, obviously it's there with the intent of, using rotational fire, are you leaning on the landowner to maintain these?
Landowner needs to maintain them.
And if they don't, you go, sorry, not coming up, I'm not burning until these are fixed.
Yes. Or if they want to pay us to come back and brush them out, we will.
Okay.
And just a little word to the wise, if you've got established fire lanes and all you're dealing with is pine straw and leaf litter, if you've got access to a skid steer, a highway brush works great.
Sweep it clean.
That's it. I don't know anybody else that's been doing that, and we have used it several times. Man, it's fast and inexpensive.
Yeah.
It don't work everywhere.
No.
You got to be dealing with straw and just leaf litter, and that's it. You know, grasses it's not going to handle, or if it's limbs and rock and all that. But you can go over the top of, like you could, if you've got pine straw over the top of a gravel road, you can sweep that off and it leaves you gravel.
Gotcha.
So we're using smaller equipment and a little more unique tools to try to reduce the amount of soil that we're disturbing.
Right, makes sense.
Because every time you work a road, you're going to get some type of soil movement. And so same with the fire lane. So we want to do as little as we can to the surface of the ground.
Right. Gotcha. Well, I mean, I guess in the same spectrum there, what about like weather conditions and all that? I know that you and Bray, Matt, all y'all have little Kestrel units on you in making sure that humidity is what it should be, it's safe to burn, or it will burn at all. You know, sometimes it's like, hey, we had planned to burn today, but humidity is telling me there's just no way this is going to work today, so we can't. But with it being like extreme temps like it has been lately, I think yesterday Bray posted a picture of her Kestrel, and
I think that was Matt's hands.
I think it was too. I saw those red nails.
Those red nails. I think that was Matt.
Yeah, it probably was. So Matt posted a picture. It's Kestrel. But it said, like, you know, in the woods, in the shade. You know, now granted, they are burning and stuff. I get it. It probably affects it somehow.
And it was heat index too.
Right. So, heat index was like 114.
114, yeah.
I mean, what factor does that play? You know, just heat, not actual temp, but just heat index.
Well, the actual temp, heat index, all that plays a role. You know, the hotter it is in the summer, generally humidity accompanies that, and it makes it really tough to burn. But why they're burning in the summer is it allows them to set back succession to a different time period. So right now we're actually leaning into that period where all of our good vegetation, native vegetation, is really starting to harden off because we're getting mid to late summer, and that's going to continue to happen. But if we can, you know, run a fire through it this time of year, then we can set that succession back, have all that new fresh growth, you know, fresh sprouts coming up during an actual stress period for deer, which is fawning season right now and antler growing season. So you get that bump in nutrition in those plants from burning now into a period that's normally stressful for deer.
Yeah.
So that's why the push to burn later in the year. And of course, you know, it's after turkey nesting, you know, poults are able to be up and moving. But our personal opinion is, you know, burning even during nesting period and poult rearing is worth the risk.
Yep.
The good that you do outweighs the bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard you guys say that a lot, and I've also heard you say, because that was, I think I kind of misunderstood early on. Generally speaking, you're not burning massive tracts of land at one time either. So it's like burning during, you know, nesting time for turkeys is maybe not ideal. You know, it's like in the perfect world, just wait, sure, but you're also at the mercy of weather, and you're also at the mercy of your schedules too. Right. If you're, you know, whatever will allow, but you're also not burning every square inch of a place either.
No, we may be burning several hundred acres in a day, but it's blocked off, and so it's for the landscape level. It's it's not continuous burns. It's blocked up in smaller burn units. We will occasionally run into where we're burning 100 acres, at a time in a burn unit, and that's because that's what the topography gives us or the landowner is willing to pay. If we have to install other fire lanes, then it's more money. So, we obviously make recommendations, but we work for the landowner. So occasionally they want us to cover as much ground as we can at one time. But yeah, so we generally try to burn smaller units, so it's not really negatively impacting anything.
Right. And I've also heard y'all talk about too, like as soon as we get this fire, just complete a dead out and it's completely cold, if your turkey's around, they're going to be coming back in there, and they're coming to pick up some charred bugs and that kind of stuff. So
I promise you, turkey can see and smell smoke.
Yeah, no doubt. That's cool, man. Anything, I guess, on the timber side or even the burning stuff, like what you guys are getting into right now? I know Matt and Bray aren't here, but
yeah. Well, we're actually getting started on a lot of timber work, and it's for different management practices, but that's one thing that we try to get landowners to understand, and listeners really, is this whole game, wildlife management is about manipulation of the habitat.
Right, sure.
And most of the time that is going to require, I'm not saying that it needs, I'm saying it's going to require removal of some timber most of the time. Not all of the time, but to do it correctly, most of the time you need to be cutting some trees.
Well, I've heard you say it this way too, like everything has a lifespan.
That's it.
And sometimes I'm one of those people, I'll just tell you, like it hurts my feelings to cut down trees because I know how long it takes them to grow. And I'm like, even when we built our house right here, it's like, hey, you want us to go ahead and remove these? No, just leave them. Like they're oaks and we ain't got many of them. Like just leave them there. Well, it's kind of in your yard. It's kind of in the way you're going to mow around it. Yep. I don't care. So I understand why people go, I don't really want to cut my trees down and stuff, but these trees, whether you believe it or not, like they won't last forever. They're not going to live forever.
That's right.
And at some point, the removal of some of this timber is going to be part of your strategy of your management plan. At some point. Now, you said, hey, it may not be for another 20 years or something.
That's right.
But
eventually,
at some point, you're going to have to go take some.
That's right.
So I guess my advice on that would just be to kind of get over it, I guess, because it's other alternative.
That's really an accurate statement, because there's a lot of people up here that, and I say up here, in our part of the state where you get in the closed canopy hardwood mountains, they're like, man, I want to do more for my wildlife.
Okay, cut trees. Well, I don't want to do that.
Yes, and that's the one thing they're not willing to do, and it's really the only thing they need to do.
Yeah.
So you've got a head-to-head right there that we generally don't win with most landowners. And at that point, look, I had a great client that I don't really work for anymore. I had a really big tract up here in the mountains, and the one thing that it needs is timber cut off of it to achieve his goals, and he will not do it. And I said, well, I've done everything that I can for you then. At this point, the only thing you really need to do is keep your feeders full and plant your food plots because you can't do anything else. Fire doesn't matter. Nothing else. No other manipulation is going to matter if you're trying to do it under a full canopy. So we just don't work there anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I know it's scary because you feel like, I guess on their perspective, you feel like I am taking something that makes this property valuable in the timber, and I'm getting rid of it. So that kind of hurts a little bit, but I feel like wildlife needs the cover. They need the tree, but in reality, in some situations, they may not.
What folks fail to realize, just the average layperson in the field, average landowner, they don't see the forest for the trees. They forget, or they don't understand that any of our wildlife species that we're working with, that's what folks are after, your game species. They make their living from right there down.
Yep.
Not up there.
Yep.
And everybody is so laser focused on their trees and what's up there. And in reality, that's your most limiting factor on your property.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think too, the average person equates, well, if I have a lot of trees, specifically oaks, well, then I'll have a lot of acorns. And if I have a lot of acorns, and again, most of the landowners that you guys are working with are managing wildlife to hunt them. You know what I mean? They want big deer, they want a lot of turkeys, or they want a lot of quail, or whatever it is. So it's like, well, if I have a lot of oaks and I have a lot of acorns, then that gives me more hunting opportunity. That gives me, the deer want to be here, so I'll have more opportunity to harvest. And that's not necessarily true, because if you cut half of these down that are subdominant and you roll fire through here, and now sunlight can reach the ground, now you've provided a lot more nutrition than those oaks ever could.
That's right.
But you don't think of it that way.
No,
you know what I mean?
They don't. And with the acorns and what I think people miss, especially in our part of the world, is, oh, by the way, there's 2.5 million acres that joins you that's got the same acorns. What?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
nothing special about your place. Yeah.
Right. It's like the people, it's like folks talk about hunting the big woods in PA and up through in that part of the country. That's how we have to hunt here in the northeast corner of the state, because it is big woods.
And it's tough.
And it's tough hunting.
It's hard.
And it blows my mind that, the mentality of wildlife management has been out here for so long that we're still fighting the same battle that we started with.
Yep.
When I don't even remember, back in the 60s and 70s when really deer management started getting popular. But one thing that I, try to mention to people that are in Northeast Alabama, they talk about, well, man, we'll go days without seeing deer, and we know we've got deer, but we just don't see many. Well, there's a reason for that. They're cruising through food sources, but, you may not have food for, a period of time on your place if all you've got closed canopy hardwoods. And then, folks want to be able to shoot more deer. But one thing about closed canopy hardwood forests, especially up here in our part of the world, is the recruitment rate is so low. If you go down into the central part of the state where you get more into the pine belt and black belt and south, when we were doing recruitment rate studies with the state, we were finding most places, central Alabama south, our recruitment rate was in the 1.5 to 1.75. So every doe is recruiting a fawn and a half to a fawn and 3/4 back into the population. You know what it is here in Northeast Alabama in the mountains?
Negative.
It's below 1.
Yeah.
So for every doe, you get less than 1 fawn produced.
Right.
So that is one thing that people don't understand up here either, is you can beat these deer populations back with harvest to a point that it takes you a long time to recover because of the recruitment rate. You can actually increase your recruitment rate on a piece of property if you manage the habitat well.
If you provide cover. That's the thing. Big
cover
woods,
and food.
There's no cover. You know what I mean? Those big woods are very pretty.
Yeah.
And it makes for a beautiful morning or evening sit from the tree stand. It looks gorgeous. And you think, man, I bet deer could just stroll right by me. But
yeah, they can stroll anywhere.
They can go anywhere. Exactly. There's nothing to narrow them down. So.
And a great example of fawn recruitment and how hard it is to get fawns, into the population up there is we were riding through one of these timber sales we were looking at up there the other day. Just kind of cruising around, checking, putting in stand boundaries and all that. I mean, you look out through the woods and it's fawning season. We found fawns,
right?
But you just see them. They're laid up, and look, they do have some camouflage. But if we pick them out riding on 4-wheelers and be like, oh, hey, there's a fawn laying right over there. What do you think a predator's going to do?
Right.
They're going to pick them off like that.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's and I wish I could remember this guy's name, but he was doing kind of like a live seminar in the hands-on type thing, and I'm assuming this guy was a biologist because he seemed like he really knew his stuff. But he was telling people when it came to like the oaks and which ones to thin out and why timber harvest is important. Like you have some of these oaks that are like super producers.
Oh,
they're older, they're more mature, they're healthier, whatever the case may be. But I think he said 30% of the oaks will produce 70% of the acorn crop. And so he was like, what's so hard to get people to understand is you can remove these subdominant trees and leave your super producers, and you will actually, with the acorn crop, produce more than you would have if you had all of them here.
Yep.
And that's hard to wrap people's head around.
It is, and that on a large scale, that's hard to do. I do know what he's saying, and he's accurate. But like what we're doing, we can't determine what our which trees are our super producers. We're having to go out there in front of logging crews and mark based off of size, species, and whether or not we're trying to maintain either a steady residual stand or one that's broken up and gotten pockets and holes all in it. It just depends on what our goal is. But me personally out there walking around, I do have enough knowledge looking at the trees when I'm working with loggers and we're trying to achieve wildlife goals. We have to feed the loggers enough to keep them there, or they're not going to complete the job. So a lot of times I will take, even though they may be crop trees, I may be pulling out crop trees that are good lumber and leaving trees that are not so good a lumber, because we've got two objectives. We're trying to generate revenue for the landowner and keep the logger happy so that we're getting a good job done. But we're also leaving trees that are going to produce acorns and, fill the void, fill whatever aspect we need them to do for us. But, we may be leaving the less desirable trees and letting the loggers cut the more desirable trees.
Right.
In a lot of instances. And see, with pine, really, it's kind of right the other way around. A lot of times with pine, you're going in trying to leave your crop trees, leave your best lumber producers, because really you're not getting anything else out of them. It's just lumber. So you want to pull those, scarred, broke, forked trees out and leave a good residual stand of best quality lumber.
Right. No doubt. Yeah, that's it's interesting how it all kind of works together, and you sort of have to go against the, for lack of a better term, just go against your guts or against the grain of what you would want to do as a landowner to get the most impact.
Well, a perfect example is the movement that's out there now with folks in suburbia they're moving toward native grasses and flowers in their yards, instead of a manicured lawn.
Right.
That's what our eyes have become accustomed to. Everybody in the summertime gets out and mows their yard once a week or once every couple of weeks. And how many guys are out there spending time on a lawnmower, daggum making stripes in their yard because they need something to look at and be, look what I did.
Not me.
In reality, look, yeah, it's great. It looks good. And there's plenty of people that I do a lot of work with that they're in landscaping business or lawn maintenance business. But that has led us down a path to where when we get out onto our farms and our recreational properties, we want it to be the same way. And in reality, that's the worst thing you can do for wildlife.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, you get rid of all types of plants that are for pollinators and things of that nature that are just, it's gone now. It's just a barren, I mean, for them, it's a barren wasteland.
People ride up to my house and they look at what's around and they're like, you live like this? And I'm like, well, I do. I said, but the little lady that's in that house right there is the reason. She loves her birds and bees and butterflies. And so we maintain our grounds around our house there rough. I mean, it looks like the bushes.
Yeah.
But we see a ton of wildlife, and that's what she enjoys, and I'm good with it.
Yep. Well, that's how, I mean, this place looked like a jungle after we got back from vacation. So I had to like one of those.
Get out the hay mower and cut your grass.
Yes. I mean, it was literally one of those where like, okay, I'm going to cut this on 4 and then I'm going to turn around again and cut the whole thing on 3. So it's just, not manageable with one pass. So,
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so much to be said about those types of things that can be done if people will just do them.
Yes.
And that's like I said, I sympathize like with the landowners who's like, nope, I'm not cutting any trees because that's how I am too. I don't want to cut them, but everything has a lifespan and everything has an objective too, I guess.
That's right. That's the big thing. And that's the number one question I go in when I'm with a consulting client is, before we do anything else, I want to know your objectives. And that's my way of setting you up. Mm-hmm. I want your objectives first before we talk about anything else, because I don't want you to immediately
switch gears.
We're not cutting timber out here. Well,
hold up now. You said.
Yeah. Well, these are your goals and this is how you get there. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten to the point in my career that I've got plenty of work. If I get goals and then I'm like, okay, well, here's what you need to do. And they're like, I'm not doing that. And it's like, okay, I appreciate the time. Good luck. Mm-hmm. And that's just my mentality now. There are plenty of people out here that are going to take our advice and do things the way we ask, and they're going to achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. Those that want to fight us tooth and nail, it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that with the advancement of you could blame it on anything really, but just online presence, research being done, the access and availability to said research. I think there is more of a interest in actively managing your property now than there has ever been.
Oh, I would agree. 100%.
People want to know. They start looking around going, well, I saw so-and-so kill this deer off of his place, or he's got X amount of turkeys on his trail camera that he sent me, and my neighbor over here is doing, he had a consultant come in and do some stuff, and it's like, man, I want a piece of that pie. You know what I mean? I want some of that too. Yeah. And so I think there's just more of an interest now than there's ever been. So as we move forward and this starts to progress, I think you're going to see people fight biologists and professionals less and less. I think they're going to be more apt to go, yeah, okay, that makes sense because I've read this article and I've read this research and I've heard so-and-so talk about it, and those sort of things. And
the one thing I struggle with, and hopefully we're all with this group known for this, is just speaking straight and not in half truth. I see a lot of content that's half truth. They're giving you just enough to get you interested, and I get it that that's a technique. But there's a lot of information out there that leads you to believe that you can do things that you can't do. And there's some pretty prominent folks out there that push that agenda. And I don't mean one in any particular area, but I mean, it's a good example would be the CWD. You've got groups on both sides. Neither one of them are being 100% truthful.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Yeah. You get half truths from both sides, and you never get just honest down the middle commentary on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like in most anything, an extreme one end of the spectrum and an extreme of the opposite end of the spectrum are seldom correct.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
The answer lies in the middle.
Yes. I mean, with anything, politics, whatever, you know what I mean?
And there's so much of wildlife management that's that way, but you get factions on one side that ride one line because, well, they've got this group that wants to use them and pay them because they have that line of thinking. And then you've got another group that's over here that's on the far end of the spectrum, the other route, and they've got a group that wants to use them because that's their line. And here we are kind of in the middle, just trying to, do what we think's right. And so it's a tough road sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. When you're speaking on the, trying to feed the loggers, that kind of part of it made me think there was a guy, I believe on TikTok, that had commented on one of our videos, and he was asking what the minimum acreage was that you could have a logger come in and thin. And I said, man, that is a very, very site specific question. I would imagine
it depends.
Exactly. And I was like, man, you've got to make it worth their time. And I don't know what that threshold is.
It depends on the product that's standing there. I know some folks that have had, 5 or 6 acre tract that was just standing full of grade hardwood logs. Somebody will come cut that and haul it. Mm-hmm. If it's 6 acres of pine pulpwood, good luck. Yeah. Nobody gives a rip. Mm-hmm. So it depends. If you're just looking at a basic stand of timber these days, we struggle to get anybody to move on 60 acres or less.
Okay. I want to say, I could be totally wrong, but I think the guy that commented said that he had like 40, I think.
And see, we could get somebody to do that, but you would have to understand that it was going to be on their timeline.
Yeah.
So when they've got a break or they need a product, got a contract for a certain product and you've got it, they'll make time for you. Mm-hmm. Or if it's raining and you've got ground that can be logged in any weather, then yeah, they're gonna come there. But if it's a track that's got any kind of weather restriction or neighbor problem or haul road problems, anything like that, then it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of y'all have heard me talk about trying to build this house that we're in now, but we did that ourselves. We didn't have a builder, so we contracted everybody else out. And one thing I learned in that process is if you're a builder and you call the plumber or the electrician or whoever and say, get over here and get started, mm-hmm. Yes, sir, we're on the way. We'll see you in the morning. If I call somebody and go, hey, plumber, electrician, HVAC guy, whatever, come over here and get started. Yeah, we'll get to you when we feel like it.
Yeah, we'll see you in 3 months.
Yes, and it's like, because it's not the same level of priority.
Yeah.
And so I imagine it's probably the same deal there going, mm-hmm. Hey, I've got 40 acres, of pine pulpwood. Like, yeah, well, we'll get to you when we've got nothing else to do or something, I would imagine. But.
And look, I'm talking about timber as a non-forester. I don't consult on timber. These timber sales that I'm working on now, a forester's handling them. I'm marking the timber from a wildlife perspective, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm doing wildlife work. I'm working with a forester that's, doing forestry, but I'm just pulled in, assisting on these things. But I've got a pretty extensive background in it. But like 2 or 3 things that I always recommend with foresters and folks that are doing contracts with timber buyers, because look, there are a lot of timber buyers that are foresters, and they will get contracts with landowners. Mm-hmm. That's actually the way I got in on this one. Is a timber buyer bought it. He's a forester, and landowner wanted some wildlife work, so they contracted me in to do the wildlife work. But one, use a forester, whether it's timber buyer forester or a consulting forester. 2, I always require performance bonds on anything that I'm working with. If it's my client and we bring a forester in, they are going to add a performance bond into that contract, so that if the logger doesn't do the things that they say that they're going to complete by the time they move off, then we've got some money there in the kitty to go back and fix roads, things like that if we have to.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, thoroughly go through your contract. There's a lot of folks now that are requesting down payment for a portion of the timber sale proceeds. It's not common, but it's becoming more common because that was the folks I've talked to that are doing that. That was really a way to ensure that the loggers, or the timber buyers did move loggers onto that particular tract within the current contract period. You'll get some that they'll sign a 12 to 24 month contract, and something will happen. They won't get to it, and they just want to roll it over. Well, you're wasting guys' time then.
Yeah.
If you really don't know you're going to get on that track, you don't need to tie it up in a contract.
Right.
But those are the three items I try to pay attention to for my customers.
That's good stuff. Good things to know. That way, if you find yourself in need of some timber thinning, then you kind of know what to be expecting.
That's right.
Well, man, we're right at about the hour mark. That's, I think, some good stuff. Hopefully that's some helpful insight for you guys. And if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, please feel free to shoot them our way. Reach out through Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely.
TikTok, whatever. I mean,
And we're all squalling about being swamped, but as the summer goes, things will slow. So for folks that want consulting visits, this is the time of year that we have openings to do that.
Yep.
So if you're looking for consulting visit, look, we've got some folks out there now that can help you in Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama, and North Florida. If you guys are interested, we got some folks helping us out here and there.
Yep, for sure. And we are actually about to roll out our Southern U website too. It's we got some merch that's coming, and we're going to put some designs out there. We'll probably do some pre-order type stuff. That way, if some of you guys that have been asking us for hats and shirts and those sort of things, we'll put some designs out there and see which ones you like, and you can pay for those. We'll do a pre-order, and you can rip Southern U, and we would, of course, greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But that'll be coming soon. And
stay tuned. I think maybe this weekend, Matt and I might have a little live event.
Oh Lord.
Let the public pick the name of our new buggy.
Yes, there's the thing that we've been talking about forever, like this big announcement, is not what they're going to do this weekend.
No, not at all.
But it is pretty awesome though.
Yeah.
And we'll let you guys in on that when they go and pick up our new
fire buggy.
Yeah, new fire vehicle.
We're going to have some fun.
But yeah, you guys stay tuned, and please like, share, comment, subscribe, all the things. It helps us out more than you know. Obviously, we do this because we enjoy it, and we want to provide as much information to you guys as we possibly can. It's much easier to do that when you actually get paid a little bit to do it, rather than trying to take away from things that would otherwise pay us. So if you don't mind, if you have not subscribed on YouTube, please do that. If you haven't subscribed on Spotify or Apple, any of those streaming platforms, please do that.
Yeah, please share it.
Yes. Tag one of your hunting buddies, share it with a friend, do something. Help us out. We would really appreciate that. We get to a place to where we bring a little bit in, then it makes this thing a whole lot easier to pull off for all of us. So I think that's about all I've got. If you are out and about in the woods, please, for the love of all that is good in the world, please spray yourself down with some permethrin before you get out there. Let it dry.
Ticks are rough.
Ticks are horrible, man. Bray and Matt got in them yesterday.
Yeah,
and it's not pretty, y'all. It's bad stuff.
Yeah, and might I suggest? I mean, even if it's just the cheap ones, I don't see them much anymore. You used to get them at Walmart, but if you're going to be in the woods, wear boots and tuck your pants in gaiters and wear gaiters over your boots and pants, and you will reduce the number of ticks that make it to your skin by 80%. I promise you. Yep. I'm the one that, look, I get some ticks, but I don't like they do. And I spray and I wear gaiters every day I'm in the woods. Mm-hmm. And it seriously reduces the number of times that I get ticks or chiggers.
Yep, for sure. I have not had the bout with ticks like they have, but chiggers are my nemesis for some reason. I don't really know what the deal is, but anyways, but we appreciate you guys. And again, stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff coming at you, hopefully very, very soon. But we will see you on the next one.
Out.